So children, the diagram that you are seeing on screen is a diagram of a nephron, that single dot which you drew in the kidney in the renal cortex area. Millions of those dots, they appear actually. Each and every dot appear like this, right? This whole structure basically refers to one nephron. I know it's a tricky one, but again important. Excretory system is actually very important with reference to the diagrams, because this tubule sometimes it comes for drawing purpose, or you might have it as a figure based question. You might have it completely drawn and you have to answer the questions based on this figure, or sometimes you have only this much there, right? Only this much. Please take care of my words. So only this much is given as a figure and you have to answer the questions based on this diagram. Things are not tough enough, they are easy actually. Just we will be moving sequentially so you understand well, right? So let me clear things up. Fine. Now what is this diagram all about? Two structures. We start with the two structures here. One structure is this round red structure, which is actually a tuft of capillaries, right? Capillaries are the finest blood vessels, the most thinnest blood vessels, which reach each and every part of your body in order to supply blood, right? Though we have not done a blood circulatory system yet as yet, but I believe that at least you people know what are capillaries. These are the finest thread-like blood vessels which reach each and every cell of your body for blood supply, right? So this central area is actually a tuft of cap. Tuft means a knot, the way you have that interwoven wool, right? If you make a woolen ball, so that interwoven woolen ball, the glomerulus just appears like that only. I have drawn everything red which is referring to blood. See, whatever is marked here red or blue, it is either a capillary or a vein. So please understand that those red areas are referring to blood supply, right? So this one is a glomerulus. Obviously some structure must be present where the blood comes into the glomerulus, and there would be a blood vessel where the blood goes out of the glomerulus, right? So the incoming of blood is through the wider arteriole, afferent arteriole. Let me tell you what is an arteriole. Suppose in your blood this is an artery. I believe you people understand artery. This is an artery. This artery divides into two fine branches, because an artery is very thick, it cannot reach each and every cell of your body, so it has to subdivide. Now this division is arteriole. This division is arteriole, and further this arteriole divides into those fine threads like capillaries, right? So this division is just to make the blood vessels capable of reaching each and every cell of the body. So I hope you have understood. Arteriole are the branched arteries, and afferent, the one which is starting with A, afferent is incoming and efferent is outgoing. That means the blood supplied into the glomerulus by afferent arteriole, and the blood which is taken back out of the glomerulus is efferent arteriole, right? So these two structures, I hope this much is clear to you: glomerulus, afferent arteriole, and efferent arteriole, right? The next structure here is the cup saucer shaped structure. If you see this, you may say cup like structure, saucer shaped structure, which is actually surrounding the glomerulus. You call it Bowman's capsule, right? So when I asked you that only this much diagram could come in boards as figure based question, so you understand that only the combination of Bowman's capsule and glomerulus, it is known as Malpighian body. Malpighian body or Malpighian capsule. Children, please understand this, that this word is very, very important. Malpighian body or Malpighian capsule. This is only that much of structure which is composed of the glomerulus and the Bowman's capsule. But if only this much of structure is not given, the whole structure is given the way I have drawn on screen. If such structure is given, then you will not write Malpighian capsule, then you will write nephron, right? Nephron. So Bowman's capsule is the saucer-shaped structure just enclosing the glomerulus deep within, so that whatever comes out of the glomerulus is actually taken up by the Bowman's capsule. Then this Bowman's capsule extends further into a tubular structure. Now this whole structure is a tubular structure. Please see to the pen. This all is tubule, right? And if you can see, just after the Bowman's capsule, the tubule is coiled. See, this is coiled. So coiling is here known as convolution. Please see the spelling: convoluted or convolution. Convoluted tubule. Coiled tubule is known as convoluted tubule. So here we are referring to the first convolution or first coiling as PCT. PCT stands for proximal convoluted tubule. I hope now the spelling is clear to you. Proximal is Proximal. Proximal convoluted tubule. Proximal word is used on the basis of say near or far. So proximal is the tubule which comes first, nearer to the Bowman's capsule. On the contrary, the other one is distal, which is far from Bowman's capsule. CT stands for convoluted tubule only. So PCT and DCT, these are the two convolutions in each nephron. First one is proximal, the latter one is distal convoluted tubule, right? Let me make this very clear again. It's a slightly messy diagram, so you have to be very, very careful. So you have understand two things, that the tubule is associated with convolutions or coiling. The coiling nearer to the Bowman's capsule is PCT, and the one which is far from Bowman's capsule is DCT, right? Then you see that after the convolution, the tubule straight away goes down, take a U-turn and come back. You call this U-loop. It's just like a Juda pin, the pin that we use in our buns that we make, right? Knots that we make in here. So this U-loop is known as U-loop of Henle. It has two arms or two limbs, you may say. The one which takes the liquid down, and the other one, after taking a U-turn, the other one that takes the liquid up. So the one which is taking the liquid down is descending loop of Henle, right? Descending loop of Henle, and the one which is taking the liquid up is ascending loop of Henle, right? Loop of Henle remains common. It's just that descending limb and ascending limb. Please take care of this, that these two limbs are present in loop of Henle, right, children? Then the loop of Henle goes up, and again the second convolution. I hope now you understand. That's the distal convoluted tubule, and ultimately this distal convoluted tubule joins the collecting duct. I hope now you understand that this duct is just like a highway that is connected to so many smaller roads, right? Similarly, a collecting duct is running in a kidney cortical area, where it is collecting the urine from all the nephrons which are present there, so that it can take the urine further, right, children? I hope that as main structure is understood to you. Now let us see what is the fate of this efferent arteriole. You must be seeing since so many red structure is also there. I have not discussed anything about that as yet. So understand now. Let me clear this. We only spoke about that within this Bowman's capsule, afferent arteriole brings the blood in and efferent arteriole takes the blood out, right? And this is a tuft of capillaries that you call glomerulus. Children, this particular area is very, very important, because this is the area which performs ultrafiltration. That means all the waste content of blood which is supposed to be removed, had it be water, and it be urea or extra salts or hormones, anything that is supposed to be removed from the body is actually supposed to be filtered here only, right? But for that filtration you need pressure. So though we will be discussing things later about the mechanism of urine formation, but as of now what I want you people to see is, look at the area of cross section of these two arterioles. Afferent arteriole has a wider area of cross section and efferent arteriole has a narrower area of cross section, right? That means this is wide and this is narrow. That means much blood is getting into the glomerulus but less is actually capable of escaping out. This leads to extremely high pressure in the glomerulus. As of now you just understand that this is the reason for extremely high pressure in the glomerular area. The capillaries of glomerulus face maximum pressure when compared to any other capillary present in your body, right? And this particular, that's why it is in the form of tuft. Tuft is tuft, tuft of capillaries, right? Then if you can see that when the blood goes off, so by this time you people must have understood at least this much, that the blood which is actually entering the glomerulus, it is having high concentration of urea, right? And the one which is actually going out of the glomerulus, it has low concentration of urea, because here urea is actually filtered, right? The blood vessel then branches again. Generally what happens, just very carefully listen to me, this is an artery, thicker one, cannot reach all cells, so it branches, right? It branches, and then still it is thicker, so it branches further into the thread like structures, right? Here O2 is provided to the cells and CO2 is collected back, right? Then the deoxygenated, so O2 goes into the cell and deoxygenated blood is actually, these capillaries they reunite to form venule, which again reunite to form vein. So your blood circulatory system starts with arteries and it ends up in vein. How come? Artery branched into arteriole, further branched into capillaries. At capillary level, O2 CO2 exchange in the body tissues take place. Then the deoxygenated blood is taken back by venule and then ultimately goes back to vein, right? That's why vein is deoxygenated. Vein contains deoxygenated blood. So just based on this logic, if you see that glomerulus is a tuft of capillaries, so that means that capillary level, after capillary level, it has to reunite to form the vein, but it doesn't form the vein. It again branches back. See, it again branches back just to cover the whole tubular network, PCT, DCT, U loop. It just covers the whole tubule. Why? Because whatever things, I mean, it has to make a connection with the liquid which is flowing inside the fluid, inside the tubule. So just in order to make a connection with the fluid which is flowing inside the tubule, this efferent arteriole again branches back and then reunite. If you can see, after DCT it is reuniting to form one single vessel, but now since I have made it blue, you understand that it is renal vein there, right? So this further branching again is known as vasa recta. Please remember the name. Either you call it vasa recta or it is also known as secondary capillary network, right children? Secondary capillary network. Sometimes it is also known as secondary capillary network. Primary network was glomerulus, but again a rebranching in the form of capillaries is vasa recta. I hope this much is clear to you. This structure is clear to you. The last and final very important thing that I tell you in this video is that we discussed, let me clear all the things here because this is a very important point that we have to discuss. Just give me a few seconds. All right. So the important point is I told you that nephron is present in cortex. Nephron is present in cortex of kidney, the border of kidney. Children, what you have to say is I am just drawing a line and then you see. Let me use another colored pen. Fine. See, I'm just drawing a line this way. So this area and DCT area, everything is in cortex. But when you talk about the loop of Henle, right, this loop of Henle extends to renal medulla. Just to understand this much, if ever you are asked to write the location of a nephron, you say it is present in renal cortex. But if ever you are asked to write the location of loop of Henle, so understand that what these people are targeting, that you might not be knowing. You loop of Henle extends into medulla. So you will not write renal cortex if the location of loop of Henle is asked. You will write renal medulla, because this portion of each and every nephron, mostly generally these are the medullary nephrons having long loop of Henle. So those which have long loop of Henle, this structure extends into medulla. This was the last important thing I had to tell you. And based on the same structure, in the next video, in the next class, we will be studying about the mechanism of urine formation. I hope this much is clear to you. If you have any queries regarding the video, please let me know. Thank you.